Good evening, everyone. And today is March 26th. Oh, I got to clap? I got to snap this? No, not yet. This is my first time, so it's all is good. But good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Culture and Leisure Board of the City of Cape Canaveral. It is now 5:29 p.m., and this meeting's being held in the City Hall of Cape Canaveral, 100 Polk Street. Can we do the roll call, please?
Mary Mascara. Brad Purvell.
Present.
James Stobie.
Present.
Betsy Ronk.
Present.
Virginia Scott.
Present.
Mary Lou Stant.
Present.
And Joyce Downing.
Thank you. Now's the time for public participation. If anyone has anything to say from the public, please have a card filled out and prepared. Do we have anyone online? No, and we have no card, so we'll get to the next part. Before we get into the agenda, I would like to make a couple of announcements, and I would like to recognize a couple of people, please. First announcement, I'd like to announce Molly Thomas, our Director of PRCA, has been awarded the Diamond Award from the East Central Florida Planning Board for her work on the Veterans Park Rain Garden. It is her third such award, her third Diamond Award. So congratulations, Molly, on that.
That was very much a team effort. To summarize my involvement, I just didn't say no. That was an underutilized space in the park. It's kind of hard to grow anything there. There was not much you could put there without taking away from the beauty and the purpose of that park as a memorial to our veterans. So doing something that helps our environment and helps the rest of the world, because the rest of the world has seen it and is watching it and monitoring it, because we're starting to see those smart rain gardens go into other communities, and it will help our influence of leading by example reach way beyond our borders. So,
Well, congratulations, Molly.
Small role, but I was very happy to be part of that.
But it's a big step for the city of Cape Canaveral as a leader to other communities.
Absolutely. Worldwide.
Okay. Secondly, I would like to recognize Mary Mascara for her work as the previous vice chairman and the temporary chairman of this board for the last couple of months or so. So, Mary, thank you very much for your efforts for this committee.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. And I also like to welcome our newest member, Joyce Downing. Now, unfortunately, her tag says board member, so for today, her name has changed. She is Miss Member.
Thank you.
I'd also like to give my opinion why this is an important board to be a member of for the betterment of the city of Cape Canaveral. Number one, the city has 5 volunteer boards: the Adjustment Board, the Business Economic Board, the Beautification Board, and the Zoning Board. This is the only board that has planned meetings. The other boards meet only as needed, and that's important to recognize. It is our opportunity to offer advice to the city department that has the largest resident engagement than any other city department. It is the largest revenue generator other than the tax department, something we should be aware of. What is resident engagement? Well, the PRCA operates 10 Friday Fests, the C5 building, the Nancy Hansen complex, the Cape Center. They run the paddle battle, trunk or treat, the Veterans Day parade, the reindeer run, backpack days for kids, yoga classes, jazzercise classes, holiday in the park, poetry night, and so much more. So this is a very big operation in the city of Cape Canaveral. All of the above can only be accomplished due to our two dynamic leaders, Ms. Thomas and Mr. Mayberry, and the rest of the PRCA dedicated team, from the facilities managers to the office staff and to the maintenance team. Our current board is a highly diverse group of business professionals, lawyer, court athletes. I didn't want to recognize just pickleball. Gym rats, sports officials, and the cultural arts, all with one goal: continuing to improve our city's recreation and cultural arts for the young and old alike. In the past, this board has only been reactive to what the city has placed in their agenda. What I would like to suggest, since we are the boots on the street, I would like to suggest that we offer agenda items to be reviewed by Ms. Thomas and her team on what may or may not have merit for the meeting. Perhaps when Samantha sends out her 3-week, 4-week meeting reminder, she can put in there, if you have anything to add on the agenda, please submit it within the next 5 business days, so the team can review. And that's what I have. Any questions, comments? Okay. Action items. Approve or amend the agenda. Is there any amendments to the current agenda?
I have a question about the agenda.
Sure.
So Ms. Thomas is going to have a meeting with the PIO for brainstorming ideas for the website. And I just was wondering, how do we keep following up on that? Is that the final answer to the question from the person?
What page are you looking
The
at?
very public participation one, Joyce Ward, of the agenda?
Oh, on the meeting minutes?
Yeah,
Our PIO is here today. She's the one that just walked back there.
right?
She'll be coming out at the time of reports to provide an update on the marketing efforts that she's been doing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my only question.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the agenda,
Oh,
not the minutes
excuse
from
me.
last week. No
Okay.
worries. So do we need to amend the current agenda, or are we in consensus? We're in consensus. I make a motion that we're in consensus.
To approve the
I'll make
agenda.
a motion to approve the minutes.
I mean, agenda.
Approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Mary Mascara,
4.
Brad Pavel,
4.
James Stobie,
4.
Betsy Ronk,
4.
Jenny Scott, Mary Lou Stant,
4.
Joyce Downing.
4.
Approved. The minutes, I believe we already had discussion about from the PIO. You want information on that? Okay. Are there any other comments regarding the minutes from last 60 days ago meeting? No? Motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting, from the January 29th meeting.
I second that motion. I almost said emotion, like that's all.
Brad Pavel,
4.
Mary Mascara,
4.
James Stobie,
4.
Betsy Ronk,
4.
Jenny Scott,
4.
Mary Lou Stant,
4.
and Joyce Downing.
4.
Next on our action items, interview for the Culture and Leisure Services applicants. Mr. Adam Creeves, is that correct? And I believe Jamie Lauthan has has become ill and cannot attend. Is that correct?
Correct. We will be bringing her back in May.
In May. Okay. I believe everyone has some background information on Mr. Adam. If you want to pull that out, Mr. Adam, would you like to please come up and have a pumpkin Madeline?
That is required by the
So good. On the record, very good.
How do you pronounce your last name again, sir? Creeves, thank you. Mr. Creeves, will you please tell us about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Adam Creeves. I actually come from California, retired California Highway Patrol officer. Retired out of, running the mean streets of Los Angeles for a long time.
Wow.
And then right after that, I got medically retired from a couple incidents that caused me to have multiple surgeries and back surgeries, hip surgeries, and everything in between. So from there, I established my own company in government and state contracting, which we deal a lot with the Space Coast here in Florida, Blue Origin, SpaceX, and kind of those guys. So we mostly deal with AI and innovation in that. We're building an ecosystem for Space Force. Aside from that, we consult with other small businesses and help them leverage themselves into government and state contracts. Outside of that, I'm also a leadership council member for the National Small Business Association. So I deal a lot with senators, House reps, conversate with them about just different policies that work for our agenda or not. Mostly what I deal with them is economic development, veterans, and try to build policy for small businesses that can grow in those areas. So currently we're trying to save the silver process that's trying to be killed in the Senate right now. So we're definitely fighting for that to keep on rolling and help small businesses leverage themselves into the federal world. Aside from that, I pretty much grew up as a Marine Corps brat. My father was in the Marine Corps 26 years. So mostly my life was in Japan, and grew up with a strong foundation in all the bases throughout Japan. So I speak Japanese pretty well. I wouldn't say I'm as fluent as I should be, but it's just I don't really talk so much with not too many people from Japan around that I can conversate with. So aside from that, I worked overseas in Japan with Bank of America, so I did investment banking with them for a while. And then 08, 07 hit, and I'm sure you all know it was a bad time at that point. So kind of moved back to the States from Japan at that point and started my career in law enforcement.
I have a question for you. Considering your background, thank you for very nice explanation of all of your background, as was your resume that you submitted. But I see in your application here that you put the Culture Leisure Services Board as your fifth choice and Business and Economic Development Board as your first choice, which sounds like it would be something right up your alley. So I guess my question is would you really prefer to wait for another opening in one of the other boards that might fit your skill set more so than this board? Or why would you want this board over one of the other ones that you'd showed preference for?
Well, I appreciate the question, yeah. So part of my job with California Highway Patrol, I did a lot of working in the Capitol, dealing with all sorts of state issues, mostly building SOP for the department. And what we have to do with a lot of that is engage with a lot of city and zoning, planning, different areas for hazmat issues and how we deal with those issues, emergency issues. So my background, though, I feel is more in the economic development world on the federal side, and I have experience in that. I want to be able to kind of expand my horizons and grow in areas that I feel I also have a deep skill set in as well.
So I guess that didn't really answer my question. Is it that you would you know, you have the opportunity from this application
Right.
to wait for something else to open up that would it be, because you can't sit on two boards, so
Right.
that you could open up to be on another board instead, and pass this opportunity up. Just questioning, yeah, that, is this a good fit for you or not?
In my conversations that I had initially coming on, we kind of went over what's the agenda as far as what this board is involved in. It excited me. It really got me, excited about what opportunities lay there and how I could bring my visions in and help out the board in ways that you may not have seen, from a different perspective that I may hold. Do I want to wait for another opportunity? I think timing is important. I feel like the timing for this was right. That's why coming in, it was exciting to hear about the different opportunities the board presents and what I could bring in and the insights from that. So waiting, I think ideally this is where I want to be and where I want to go in the timing of this board and what I can bring in, and also more so the values and the experience I can learn from it as well.
Other questions? Yes, Jenny.
This is a question about the form that you submitted.
Sure.
The question that I was looking at is, it says, if yes to the above, have your civil rights been restored? You had checked no to the previous question, which asks whether you had ever been convicted or found guilty of a felony in any jurisdiction, et cetera, et cetera. So did you mean to answer yes to that question and you checked no, or did you just, is the yes on the second, the following question, should that just have not been filled in or out? Should that have been left blank? You can't see it, unfortunately, I'm sorry. So,
have I ever been convicted of any felony? No. I don't think I'd be able to get into law enforcement if that was the case.
well, you never know. So I just thought I'd ask.
No, I do appreciate it. Yeah, it probably should be unchecked.
Okay.
No, I mean, part of the process for, let me just speak for the California Highway Patrol site, we're one of the hardest law enforcement to get to in the country. We do a 9-month paramilitary living academy. When we're going through the hiring process, there's probably about 175,000 applicants for each district in California, and what's made up of that is a class of 175 throughout the state. So you're pretty much the 1% of officers that are allowed to go to invite to an academy. You're talking hundreds and hundreds and 100,000 applicants. The background investigation for that is quite extensive. Probably took me about 3 years just to get on the department because of that extensive background check. And in saying that, once you get there, you're challenged every day. You're challenged every day to pass or fail. If you fail, you go home. And in the midst of that, I was also president of that cadet training class of about 175 cadets. So
that was, you left that department though in February of 2022.
Yes, I was medically retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So between 22 and 26, there's 4 years. So, there is a time that passed since then. So, but my question really was pertaining to the answer on, the way that this was answered. I can see that if you might have, I don't know, Molly, if you have to fill out something there, it rejects your form. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyhow.
Jenny,
Yeah.
I can help out there, having just done this
Yeah,
myself
I
in the
don't
last 2
remember.
weeks.
Yeah.
It looks like you have to answer every question.
You do, it's a
And I
required
had to go
response, it
back.
just needs to be executed
Yeah.
a little better on the form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go back
But
and correct
I
mine.
just had the printed version here. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's
Wasn't a personal assault. It was,
right.
No, I had no troubles with law enforcement.
all right. That's,
I have another question about the form, since we're on the form as well. And that said, you did clarify that you have been a resident of the city for 12 months or longer.
Yeah.
But then you put down that you're not a registered voter in Brevard County.
Yeah, it's been challenging. I've been through a big transition, especially with Space Force. We have to deal with Vandenberg in California and come back over here with Delta 45. So part of that process has been I was going through a big divorce in California and just kind of letting that settle before I came and kind of transitioned everything over to Florida, which we're at that point. I've been here, live down the street, but those challenges have really kind of set a little bit of a setback in the timing of bringing everything fully over. So I do commute a lot back between Vandenberg and over here in Cape Canaveral, but primary residence is here.
And this form was submitted about a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you end up in Cape Canaveral, and how do you picture what you can do on this committee? What is your expectation, or what is your desire? Or do you just want to get your foot in the government and figure, learn the process and grow with it?
What excites me the most is how I ended up here was more or less, my brother was a CTO of Space Force, and out of retirement, this is kind of, hey, I think we have something where we can grow, And that's kind of what brought on the business and brought us opportunity. And when I come to the city and I see, there might be an opportunity here that I see otherwise from other cities that can bring in that value. I guess more or less when we talk on, let's say, the Space Force side of building a spaceport, but how does the city look once we have that established, and how do those commingle with each other? If I'm getting this from one side, what value can I bring on the other side that could also merge those two together? So looking at it, I think I'm more excited about the future of what the city could bring and what's happening in the Space Coast world and those opportunities that are coming in the future for them as well.
Good answer. Yeah.
Mr. Creeves, question please. First, thank you for your service with the California Highway Patrol. I always like that show, Chips.
Interesting fact, where they filmed that show is the office I work at.
Really? Interesting. Also, thank you for your work with our veterans. Okay? And most importantly, thank you for the sacrifices that you have given by being a Marine son.
Right.
Going to all the different bases. Because I did run 37 different commissaries in the United States and all the services, so I know what that sacrifice is about. But my question is, KRVS Corp is based in Bakersfield. How often do you go to Bakersfield? Is one question. Second question is, are you planning on moving that corporation from California to Florida?
Yes, it's already in the plans and works. When we initially started it, that's kind of home base of where we had an address, which was my younger brother's address. Vandenberg is closer to Bakersfield, so that seemed appropriate at that time. All plans and works are headed this way at the moment, actually, speaking. The headquarters for our company will be right down the road in Cape Canaveral shortly.
In Cape Canaveral?
Yes, in Cape Canaveral.
Good.
Yes. And thank you for saying that about the Marine Corps. I just want to throw this out there, side note. My father did 26 years of Marine Corps. Coming back from his last tour in Iraq, he was diagnosed with ALS and passed about 8 months afterwards. So the company, Creeves Corp, if you look at the logo, it's a K, but each line in that K symbolizes the bloodline of this family. My father did 26 years in the Marine Corps. My mother stood by him for 33 years of marriage, still committed to him even after his passing. My brother, who was retired Air Force, CTO of Space Force, myself, California Highway Patrol, my youngest brother, Marine Corps, MARSOC, and my sister, Army, who works at the Pentagon. Our family's embedded in service, and that's more or less what brings me here for this call. It's not just something that I want to just grow in one avenue or another. I want to be able to grow in government fully and wholly. And when I think about my future and what this city can bring, it's all steam ahead, rolling for me. We were talking big spaceport, and our goals and ambitions are to be one the major contractors that are going to be establishing that spaceport here in Cape Canaveral. So,
Wow. That's very ambitious.
it is, but I think, you know, when it comes to goals in life, goals have endings, objectives have new starting points. So I don't look at life as a goal, but it's an objective for us to get to.
Nice, nice. Any other questions, comments?
I just want to say, Mr. Creeves, you are way overqualified for this position. And it's kind of embarrassing to me because my qualification is that I play pickleball. And I look at yours and I think, okay, you can have my seat right now. But I really appreciate your willingness to serve here. And I think you'll bring a lot of great experience to this situation. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd also like to thank you for stepping up and volunteering here. And I know you have such a diverse background, and it can do nothing but benefit us and also the city of Cape Canaveral. And, you know, when you put us all together, we all have so many different backgrounds that it can only be a positive. And so I really appreciate that you'd like to volunteer, especially since you're just getting your feet wet here and being part of the city of Cape Canaveral as a volunteer is really, really special. And I think you'll find it's a real friendly place. You really get to know people here maybe because it is so small and the government's so small, you see everyone on the street riding bikes or in the grocery store.
You're running.
Right.
Every morning, I'm running about 3 or 4 miles around.
Okay.
I appreciate that sentiment, because for me, like growing up in the Marine Corps family, especially in Japan, we grew up in a small, knit communities. Everyone was very, you know, your friends became your family. And that's part of the upbringing that I probably enjoy the most. You know, living in the big city of LA and the hustle and bustle of it, you can get lost. And most often my father would say it's like spinning wheels living in LA, you know. So when I came to Cape Canaveral about a year ago when I put my application in, it was almost like coming back home. You know, I felt that certain sentiment of, okay, I'm at a place now where I can put my roots in, grow, and really establish myself fully and wholly. You know, I put the application about a year ago, so I've been waiting, you know. I was, you know, talking with the Economic Board earlier, I came to a couple of those meetings, but I think timing is a big thing, and just, you know, it just so happened that when I got the call again, I was like, okay, all systems go. Let's make this happen. And I'm thankful for that experience that I have of living in Japan, living in California, living in New York for a little while, you know, Marine Corps kind of just brings you everywhere. And I think for that childhood upbringing, because it allowed me to see multiple cultures. And when you have a vision of multiple cultures, you can come into a place and really, you know, bring in your values of the different cultural aspects, bring in how they can bring a value. And I could learn from everyone on the board here, the experiences you guys have in being here. And you know, I think a merge of that together can bring great things to the city.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your service and all your family. It sounds like you're, like you said, a family of service.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Creeves. Director, our next step is we vote to see if Mr. Creeves goes in front of City Council. Is that correct? What are our next steps?
Yep, you will, someone will need to make a motion one way or another to recommend or not recommend for interview and consideration for appointment as our first alternate.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward and consider Adam Creeves to interview him for this position.
I'll second the motion.
Mary Mascara,
4.
Brad Pravell,
4.
James Stobie,
4.
Betsy Ronk,
4.
Jenny Scott,
4.
Mary Lou Stant,
4.
Joyce Downing.
4.
Mr. Creeves, we wish you the best of luck. I'm sure you'll hear from Ms. Thomas when you'll meet with our city council, plus or minus April 16th, whatever that Tuesday is. Okay?
Yeah, I'll do, provided you're available for April, I'll try to get you on the agenda for that. If for some reason they have, because the challenge that we have with our board is that our agenda items are due about 7 days afterwards, and it's already Thursday. So if for some reason their agenda is really heavy, we'll go for May. So I'll speak with I'll send a message to the clerk tomorrow to see if she'll let me get you in, because the next step would be to interview before them, and then they will make the final appointment on whether or not you become the alternate.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate your questions, and put me in the hot seat for a bit, but, you know, I think it's all good things, so I appreciate your questions, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're right on time, 6 o'clock. Now we're on our first discussion item. Identify board member availability for the second joint workshop with City Council to continue discussion related to the third-party compensation agreements. That's really a technical sentence there.
Samantha and I went back and forth on the order of these two discussion items, because it's like a cart with two hitches, one on the front, one on the back. I will touch on a little bit of number 5, and we can get into a deeper discussion of number 5 before we really get into the meat of number 4. But we do need to establish a date, and the dates that we have for consideration, we're not necessarily limited to those. I just can't interfere with another board that already has a meeting, and I definitely can't interfere with council and strategic planning. So similar to what we did with the survey, and we can actually go back if you'd like to. This is an option for this item. If it's easier for you guys to, because everybody's got multiple calendars. I have at least 2, plus I have the one on my desk and the one on my wall and the one in my kitchen.
And the refrigerator calendar.
Yes, I've got the refrigerator calendar, and I've got the one over in the office. But if it's easier for the board to go home and I can send the survey out like I did last time, we can totally do that. That's up to you. That would be a motion. Or we can look at you guys can write down your availability for these dates, and the dates that have the most people available is the dates that we will recommend to council. Ultimately, we're herding cats again.
So we don't know that the council is available on any of these dates yet?
Not yet.
Just there's no conflict, but them
There's
personally.
there's no conflict with them personally that we're aware of. There's no conflict with the room. And we will be doing things different from the last one. The last one was a grand experiment, but we had a lot of lessons learned from that. So it will be a little bit different.
What do you mean by that?
We need to be a lot better with the organization of it and the audio, because the audio was a challenge. Having everybody in a discussion format was not conducive with the technology that we have access to. And with how much information, we're going to arrange the agenda a little bit differently and definitely do the page number thing. That will be a lot more helpful. But one of the main things that we need to consider is, while this board has a lot more to consider than council, council's role within this joint workshop is really to tell us what they want to do about those contracts. That's the meat and potatoes of what they need, that joint workshop. The joint workshop is not necessarily the place to get into the weeds over a $3 or $4 difference in a charge. That's this board's job. Once we are able to develop our structure of what we want to see with access, dual access, all access, splitting the courts between a basic and whatever, with the structure of the fee schedule, because the structure of the fee schedule is what we're charging for. The schedule itself is what we're charging. So once we have our structure identified for the best possible outcome in revenues and balancing with the needs of our facility users, the heavy lift comes back to this board to actually get some numbers that'll work. So what you've been provided with for item number 5 is very much structural. It's a lot of the feedback that this board has given. It's some more ideas that we have been approached by. We get calls all the time for people that want to rent things that we don't have a rental fee schedule for. So for that reason, we've added a couple things, and then we've also reconfigured some things in the way we charge based on how the department's able to run and how to give people the best experiences possible for their rentals. So there's a lot to discuss at the joint workshop, and there's a lot of moving parts to it, but the bottom line is the purpose of that workshop is for them to give us direction on what we're going to do about those contracts.
You're talking about the health,
Yes.
the different health
Yeah,
insurance.
the
things.
third-party providers. Yeah, because we can't really do much and be effective, especially in terms of revenue, until we clear that elephant out of the room on, do we keep taking these? Do we take all of these? What are our options with these? And one of the items that, I mean, that's what they need to tell us, because we can't come up with an adequate fee schedule if we're not capturing as much of the revenue as we need to. So until they give us a yay, nay, or let's scale it back, it's hard for us to develop a fee schedule without having to scramble after they make a decision and say, you know what, eliminate this one, keep this one. Okay, so what do we do to balance the needs of our residents and our facility users and the needs of the city in terms of revenue? So it's going to give us some direction, and what we've actually come up with at the end of the day with regard to the structure that I've given you a sample of, this would actually work whether they kept the insurance providers or not, because it does, it separates the,
Should we first go over the dates before we get into
Yeah, I
the
think
weeds?
let's get that out
you
of
want to
the
go back to
way.
the dates? Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise we'll get down that.
I just
rabbit hole.
wanted the board to realize that this wasn't like a joint workshop free-for-all on the fee schedule, as much as it was, they need to tell us what to do with the insurance
I
companies.
do have a question on that, but let's get to the dates, please.
Okay.
I suggest we tell what dates we are not available, and that can go a whole lot quicker. Samantha, can you just check?
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it says, identify board member, but we all can go to the meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just thought there was only going to be one
No,
member
our
of the
entire
board.
board, like we
Yeah.
went to the last
Good.
meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll
Okay.
begin. I cannot make Thursday, April 30th, nor can I make Thursday, May 7th.
Where are you finding those dates?
Give me right there.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. And that had nothing to do with the Sunshine Law.
Okay, who's next?
What was I got May 7th and what? April 30th, okay.
Betsy?
Well, I can, I'm supposed to be traveling after the 29th, so those 4 dates are, but that's rather suspect. I can, given enough time, change some plans. So I guess it depends upon when the council gets back to me. I mean, I know I'm available for sure on the 28th and 29th. But the 30th and the following week, I would need some time to rearrange my travel plans. So I guess you could
Just
put me
mark that
down as a
no.
tentative no then, on the 30th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Can I suggest we could just maybe lift our hands up for the dates available, and if there's
Sure.
Sure, that's a good.
many of us, then the others that are not sure they can come that day, maybe they'll arrange their schedule. Might be easier.
I like that. All right. Tuesday, April 28th. Raise your hand if you're unable to make it.
Unable.
Unable.
Let's do able. Oh.
Unable? It was the 28th. Ginny? And
Yeah.
no
yeah.
Stobie. Okay. Wednesday, April 29th. Unable. Thursday, April 30th. Okay. Did you get those?
Yes, I'm unable. No,
And then Brad and Betsy.
I'm good for the 30th.
Tuesday, May 5th. Okay. Wednesday, May 6th. Okay. Thursday, May 7th. Okay.
Jim, are we going to the same place or what?
I'm seeing a pattern.
Yeah.
The law of unintended
Look, we better not go
consequences
over
is
this,
popping
this
up
then,
here.
okay?
Let's see. All right, those dates, I will run, we'll compile that list and send it out as far as which days we have quorum. For those that don't know, quorum is half plus one. We have 7 people, that means 4. So, and that's seated members. So we'll send out what we come up with. If something changes in your world, please let us know regarding those dates. In the event that for some reason those aren't going to work for council, or I don't know, I never know what's going to come up. But if for some reason something changes on our end, we will communicate that with you guys, and we will also probably, if something drastic changes and we're not able to use the dates where we do have quorum, we will send out a survey with different dates.
I have one other question, because I know the council gets very booked up. Being that we're really looking for a direction on their decision on the insurance products, and I know they were going to go through the contracts and the attorney was going to look at them and all of that. If it doesn't work as far as having, did they request a workshop back with us, or is it just?
This is
that
at
they-
the direction of the city manager.
Okay, because I was going to say, otherwise, they could just, provide that information is, we're going to do X, Y, Z, because we really aren't going to be able to say too much about that. Then we'll just take our marching orders from saying we're going to keep this or get rid of that, or whatever they decide based upon the contracts.
I can always throw that out as a suggestion. One less meeting is everybody's
Well,
favorite.
that's what I was saying. They may, from that perspective, that's an option. And then we could probably in May finalize the fee schedule back for them.
Right.
If that worked, I'm just trying to, minimize the number of, I saw they had some other things planned going on.
Yes, yeah.
And so I thought maybe to minimize their time spent in meetings, they might prefer to just give a recommendation of the way they'd like us to move forward.
I like that. So what I'll do is I will take this to our city manager in the clerk's office and throw that out there, and we'll see what the city manager has to say, because we will, he will run that by the council members individually on his one-on-one meetings and get a consensus through that mechanism. And if we don't need to have a second workshop, no one's feelings are hurt.
Right.
Meetings are a heavy lift. They might seem like these beautifully orchestrated events, but it's not easy. So, especially when you have so many schedules to juggle. So, all right, so we will circle back on that with you guys via email in the coming week or so. And we'll let you know which way the wind blows on that one. All right?
Molly, can I ask a question about the attachments?
Mm-hmm.
Attachment 5.
Mm-hmm.
Looked like one of them had the draft print across the front of it.
Yeah,
The
when
other-
I printed mine, it came out like that too.
And there's 3 pages that don't have it on it, but when I went through them real quick, and it looked like it was the same thing.
It is.
Okay.
It was just, it was Adobe being Adobe.
I was looking for nuances.
Yeah, there aren't any. It's just Adobe being Adobe with the
Okay,
watermark.
so it's the same, okay.
It's all
It
the,
looked like
it's all
it
the
was
same. Yeah, it just didn't want
I
to
started to
cooperate
cry
with.
as I was trying to figure
Molly,
Right.
I have a question.
Oh, is it
Mr.
yours?
Chairman,
Crossed out that one.
Of course it's yours. I wondered what that was about.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Yes, please.
Okay. The city manager it's his idea to have another workshop, right? And he knows that we're waiting for the council to make a recommendation on the fees, the contracts, right?
Yes.
So what's his idea of the point of this workshop for us to be involved in? I'm just curious what he's thinking.
I can't speak to that specifically. I just think that he wants to make sure that the council is engaged
Oh,
as far as they have ample opportunity to speak with you guys.
Oh.
Because, and when we get into our reports, I'll be reviewing Sunshine because you guys can't talk to council about this
right.
outside of this room,
Okay. Okay.
because it would be a violation of Sunshine. So in order for you guys to have an opportunity to speak with them, it either needs to be as like a public comment, or it needs to be in some other publicly noticed public meeting situation. So without speaking to council directly one-on-one and saying, do you want to have a workshop? Do you want to have another workshop? Do you want to have another workshop 5 times? He told me to come back to this board, identify some dates, and if the council wants to do a workshop, a second workshop, we'll at least have dates for them to consider and know this board's availability to participate in an additional discussion for that, if it is needed.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask a question? Will the workshop be similar to what was before, just discussing the health contracts, health insurance contracts, or is it, like Brad came up with a different idea, and that wasn't, it was different than what we were talking about, the health insurance contracts, but I don't see that, idea is any place in,
The city manager didn't speak to it when he gave me the directive to,
Okay. So I guess I'm looking for, are we gonna come up with other ideas for this workshop, or are we just gonna deal with those contracts?
that will be a conversation that I will have with the city manager as far as what they want to see on the second workshop, if in fact they do want to have a second workshop. Right now, I'm just preparing
Got it.
as much as I can for something I have no idea about as far as what way they're going to go. So they might say, get rid of the contracts, keep the contracts, whatever, independently. But
Yeah, I just thought during that meeting, we had talked about, we made a recommendation, what we thought, each individual thought about keeping the health contracts or not. So I
Right.
thought that had, kind of, the horse was dead already.
Yeah.
But, to keep revisiting it, I mean, if there's new facts that came out,
right.
then that's different, if they found out we can't do something or we can do something, but I thought we had already made our recommendations.
Jenny, excuse me, can you refresh my memory and our memory what you believe our recommendation was.
Well, I think we were polled,
Yes.
All right?
and I didn't take a tally of that poll.
But do we remember what the answer was, to keep or not to keep?
I think my recollection was really more so, I think, a polling of the council, more so than necessarily, we all gave our opinions in many different ways. But I thought that the consensus, more or less, of many of the council members was to eliminate the insurance products. But they wanted to review the contracts to see when or if or how that could be done, because we did discuss saying, well, we could phase them out, we could put a fee schedule in, and if, when somebody comes due, then that's it for them. And we did bring up that if they were to make a decision on, and let us know their direction, and that's why I thought I would have Molly ask again, that we could more quickly turn around another fee schedule, because we'd already approved one last summer. You know, so it would be it wouldn't be difficult for us to get something back to them fairly quickly, instead of just continuing, kind of like Jenny said, just keep beating a dead horse here, which we've already done for over a year now. So that was that was what I kind of got the feeling from the board, from the council, which is more important than necessarily what we think. I think we were just just presenting our discovery facts.
And at this point, we're still waiting on the clerk's office to produce the draft minutes. So,
I can imagine that's not an easy thing.
So
yeah, so.
I have a question too about that, because I did sit through the meeting with you, and it was very difficult to follow. The audio, as you said, was terrible, but I was really instantly perked up when I heard Brad's presentation, and I didn't really hear anything about whether we're going to discuss it again or not. So for my question is, this upcoming workshop, is that something that's going to be discussed again, or?
I can pose that question to them and see if they're open to discussing that again, or if they're open to going to the next level and actually seriously considering that.
Well, Brad, what did you feel that their take was on your proposal?
Actually, in my opinion, when we did our initial proposal with the multiple grids of pricing.
No, I'm talking about
let
your.
me finish. Yeah,
okay,
yep,
okay.
yep.
Wasn't sure if you understood
Yep.
my question.
No, I understood perfectly.
Okay.
When their eyes looked like deer in the headlights. Sorry, guys. As a matter of fact, I happened to be eating breakfast at a local establishment, and one of the council members sat next to me, was the only seat available, and they said the same thing. It was kind of deer in the headlights. My presentation, and to refresh everyone's memory, and here's the issue I did not know. CPRA cannot assess citizens globally a fee.
In the state of Florida.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
that's true.
Only the city council can.
No, not even the city council. I looked it up in the Florida statutes.
Does it have to be?
Well, it's an
on-
assessment.
It's considered a tax, and so
Well,
it would have to be
but
rolled
bottom
into
line, what my
taxes.
proposal was, every address in the city of Cape Canaveral is charged $100 a year. For that $100 a year, that will cover the total costs of the C5 building, the Nancy Hansen building, and we have a surplus of $300,000 a year. That means with that surplus, we can fund summer camp, spring camp, winter camp for all the kids. That also means that every citizen in the city of Cape Canaveral can use the C5 building, the weight room, the track, the pickleball courts, the basketball courts, use Nancy Hansen, their pickleball and tennis courts for free. and I thought about this after, they want to charge for beachside parking, but the residents get nothing. That money goes possibly only into a general fund, but at least this way, the residents get access to try and be healthier by having courts available, by having a weight room available. That was my concept. Now, that's $8.50 a month, the $100 on a single resident. That's $8.50 a month. We have to recognize that we're in competition with Planet Fitness, Cocoa Beach Fitness down the road, 24-hour Fitness, and the cheapest of those major national chains out there a month, it's like $15, and we're half that price. Yes, they may have more high-tech equipment than we offer, but we're still offering a savings to our community. We're offering and the ability for people to use it, because there are many, many citizens that I speak with that do not want to spend $350 a year for something they feel their taxes paid for that big old building. But now we're talking a 66% savings, the $100. And if you mentioned in the meeting, a landlord would pass that expense on. Well, I gave that some thought. $8 divided, and you said a 12-place building, $8 divided by 12, what's that, 50 cents a month? I don't think he's going to pass that on. But if you have multiple complexes, and I thought about this, maybe it's a staggered rate, $100 for a single residence. If you have 6 or more, it's $125. 12 to 20, it's $150. 20 and above, it's $200.
I think as the attorney said, it really comes down to the legalese of it. But they were, the mayor was very open to looking at it.
Yes.
So I think that's a good thing. But he did agree that's a good long-term look. But this can be a short-term fix in the meantime, because this would be much bigger, especially with all of the laws involved and how they could make that come to be. So
the mayor questioned if that $100 can be put on commercial property. He did not question residential property. I don't know if our attorney has looked into that. And granted, what was proposed to everyone was a 60,000-foot view, but to our board here, I want to say thank you very much for remembering that it might have some merit. Plus, it generates revenue for, our kids. It also, it generates revenue that our kids could enjoy the facilities that we offer free. Summer camp, free. There's other things. It gives us some funds that we can start an NFL flag football league.
But, Brad, I think that those kinds of things, again, the question is, what does the city council want from us in this next planning or, brainstorming session? Do they want new ideas? Or they want supplemental ideas, or do they just want to talk about the insurance, health insurance payments that are made because of using our, exercise or recreation facilities? That's what the big question is, because if we're not prepared with, we all had good ideas at some, last year too, when we were discussing this, but they're just, right now, to me, it's like it's only gone down to this, one issue.
Well, and I think you're right, Jenny, and I think that it comes down to the fact that, as they kind of said, because that's a larger plan that would take much more to implement, something interim to save on our revenue in the next year or so while they work towards this, because that would be could be a lot of change or statute change. You can do both.
Well, to me, it seems like just get this thing going.
Yeah, get it over with.
Change the fee schedule, and then we can deal with with the insurance. Because right now, the insurance is only paying for like the health, benefits. It's not paying for pickleball down at Nancy Hansen. So,
But it's paying
See
for
what I'm saying?
pickleball at C5.
well, it doesn't have to, but the intent is of those health plans is not that they pay for private pickleball lessons. It's to get in there and exercise, use the gym facilities is a health facility. They're not going to pay for a tennis league for somebody, is my understanding, and I have been a member of several of them. So I don't think that's a big change, and this thing could have been implemented already
Well,
without, and then we deal with, okay, the issue of health insurance.
And that's why this structure that was put forward was put together with all the input of this board, because this could address a lot of those issues while the
Well, it moves along.
while the elephant strolls very slowly out of the room.
Totally.
well, since I was new and probably didn't fully understand every little last detail about the discussion, the impression I got when I left the meeting was the council decided to take a step back and absolutely look at the contracts before they move forward on anything. And the other question I had that came up was the tourist tax. Do we have one, or is that even on the table? Or so
That's out of
another
my
complicated detail. And I think if I understand this correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong,
I'll do
it's
my
not the
best.
council that wants this workshop, it's the city manager. So the council wants to analyze the contracts, and the city manager wants to hold their feet to the coals. And if having another workshop does that, but I think the point where they're at is first look at the contracts. That's the impression I got when I left the meeting. But
Which, what I'm looking at is if the fee schedule could be implemented without changing, the only change would be they pay for pickleball.
That would be the breaking
at
down
the
of the
C5.
basic versus the premium membership.
That would be the C5.
Right.
So that could already be in place without dealing with, do we accept the health insurance for Silver Sneakers for the basic gym membership or not? Do you guys are following what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where we
So-
started this months and months ago.
Get some additional, and then if they decided that they were not going to accept it, the fees would be different for people who use the gym.
Well, they would just then fall in line with
With whatever was
what has been
recommended.
posted.
Right,
Yes.
whatever was recommended.
And maybe that's the way to approach it with the city manager, to say, if they aren't ready to decide on the insurance or whatever they've decided, if we have to play out the insurance till the end of the contract and then cancel it, we're going to propose this new fee schedule that will work in the interim or in the end.
either
And
way,
either way, and then until such time that maybe we go a whole different route, as Brad proposed, or something else that somebody on the council may think up, and then things change again. We've been down that road before.
I think we should let the insurance, we have 3 insurance programs, right?
Correct.
Just let them expire. They have 3 different expiration dates, if memory serves me correct. Just post it that as of this date, this insurance is not accepted, this insurance is not accepted, this insurance is not accepted. Then we will find out how many individuals we lose visiting the building.
Well, I think that's up to the council to decide, because they may
Well,
feel like, you know, we don't want to do that if we can get out of any of the contracts. We're better off to just cut it loose and not, you know, play favorites one over the other. People are
it's
going to
not-
complain. People will complain regardless.
Regardless.
Why did you cut me off but not Joe, and, you know,
Well,
this and
it's
that.
because
something
of
we
the
should vote on?
expiration, yeah.
Like everybody, just like we normally do, is everybody votes, do we recommend cutting those insurance contracts?
At the
Do we
ex-
recommend that to the city council to do, or do we recommend?
We brought that up.
Right, but I don't know if we ever, as a board, you know, we got 5 yes and 3 no, or, you know, I don't think we made a board recommendation. So it was individual.
Well, we don't have at our fingertips today, let's say, when those are due, and, you know, which one is which, so we'd have to go back and review that again, but they have all of that information.
Yeah, Tivity expires in 2027. That's the most recent one I've been in communication with, and that's the big one, that's Silver Sneakers. And the question that first I asked for a contact phone number for our account representative, and in about 4 sentences, I was explained to that per their policies, they don't have a phone number. So within a couple days from that, I received an email, and it said, you know, I'm your account representative or whatever, and the person asked, you know, well, what questions, you know, I'm told that your legal team has questions. What are your questions? And I said, well, I'd have to get with him because I, you know, was hoping to schedule a phone conversation. And the big question is, are these boilerplate contracts, and are they negotiable? Because that was the one thing that the city manager and I had discussed, and he's like, well, let's find out if they'll take our contract instead of using theirs. And I got a 1-sentence response.
Oh, no.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
These are standardized contracts and they are non-negotiable. And I said, thank you very much. We'll be in touch with any additional questions. So,
When in
and that
tw-
was just Silver Sneakers.
Right, when in 2027 does that expire? Plus or minus?
I don't know.
March? So we got a year.
One of them was signed in.
But you could, in that year, be charging people at the C5 to play pickleball.
Exactly. And that's the biggest, that's the biggest piece.
Yep.
That's the biggest disconnect between.
So my question on that is, guys, and I'm not part of what that rec, when you scan the little thingy, rec desk. So here's my thingy, I ask. When I go into the building and I scan my key fob, whatever it is, okay, how does it know I'm playing pickleball or I'm lifting weights?
It doesn't. It will in the future because they'll change the software.
Yeah.
And how much does it cost to change the software?
It's staff time. If we implement this, that problem is solved. That's why the structure is the way it is, because it separates it. And if I'm going to know by what time you checked in, what you're doing in that gym.
Built that stuff.
So it shouldn't
Because we
be
have a
big
schedule.
deal to implement it.
No, it's just going to be a little time consuming to update all of our stuff in the software. Do I love our software? No. Is it time to change it? I don't know. But if we change our structure of how we charge, it doesn't matter what those companies do, because we're covering that gap for the use of the
With the
gym.
pickleball fees?
I'm not targeting just pickleball. Volleyball players need to pay too.
Court fees, thank you.
Basketball too, yeah. Which is why the structure is set up and the schedule is set up the way it is, because a lot of the people that come and play basketball are young people. They're children, they're minors.
Right.
So we don't want to price them out, because
Right.
if they're not in there playing basketball, they're destroying my park.
Right.
So
Right.
we've proven that.
Madam Director, you have cleared the mud right now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I've spent a lot of time on spreadsheets lately.
Guys, our team, members, board, let's put a motion together that to separate Court from Silver Sneakers and the other two insurance companies.
We don't have to.
Can-
don't have
can-
to.
You can just have them implement a payment for the court fees.
Right, but what I'm saying is,
It's
so
already
when
that
we
way.
go to the city manager or the city council, we're all aligned.
But they would see it in our fee schedule.
Right, because the fee schedule will have to go,
They has to go to the
the
council.
structure we have control over at this level. What the code says specifically about fees in Chapter 54, which Chapter 54 is the Parks and Rec thing. We have a couple outliers in other areas, like don't do naughty things in parks and stuff like that. Like you can't do that anywhere. The things you can't do in public, you can't do in parks. Like, so there's a couple other areas of our city code that apply to us, but for the most part, and I can send you all the link if you've never been on it, but there's a site called Municode. And if you just go type in 54 right at the top, it'll take you to Chapter 54, and it's everything you've always or never wanted to know about what you can do and not do in our parks. And it covers everything from what the city council's role is, to what the city manager's role is, to this board. And that's where you'll find the definitions and all of that other stuff of as what created this board and everything in Chapter 54. And what Chapter 54 says about fees is that city council is the one that has to set the fees for the facility use. And it specifically says facility use. So when it comes to, the resident and non-resident, whether you give veterans a discount, whether you give seniors a discount, the code is silent on that. It just says this board can recommend it, and city council is the one that has to approve it, which is why we ended up with, I think, 5 different resolutions, because as I was getting into, it started at the beginning when I took over this department, and on March 7th, 2022, we were looking down the barrel at opening a community center and had no fees for it. And so I got into the code, who sets the fees, what do we do? All right, cool, we'll get this board to opine on the fees. City council eventually adopted the fee schedule that was recommended, and that's when I started looking at some of the other fees that we had, and I found no resolutions because they predated all of that. They had never been changed. We had been charging the same thing since Nancy Hansen was alive, rest her soul, and she died in like 2001. So we had gone a long time without any formal recognition of our own code of Chapter 54 where council set the fees. So I started one by one going through each different area to the point where the city attorney's like, Molly, please stop with the resolutions, get a full department fee schedule together and present that to council as one large resolution. So now that we have this board, most of it predates some of the folks on it. Some of you have been around for the whole time. We've got all the recommendations that we need, with the exception of the fact that the world has changed a little bit in the last couple years. So, and we've gotten new residents, we've gotten more questions, we've got more spaces and more opportunities to generate revenue because people are calling and asking, hey, I'd like to do something at Veterans Memorial Park. I'm not a part of the VFW, I'm not a part of the Legion, can I rent it? I'm like, as much as I'd like to take your money, I can't because the city council hasn't established a fee for it. I would be amiss, I would be in the wrong if I said, sure, $200, call it a day. So that's why I'm trying to follow the procedure. And my hope is that you guys can look at this is as close to this This is as close as this board has ever come to seeing a full-on fee schedule resolution in over 25 years. So this is a complete department fee schedule as far as what our city code says that city council needs to approve. And it takes into account, as explained on the agenda cover, the stuff that we've already talked to death about, which is separating the courts. The idea was put forward to put a dual court pass so that you can, if you don't ever want to set foot in that gym, you love playing pickleball, indoor, outdoor, you want to go bounce back between them, there's the ability for that. One of the other things that I built into this, because it's come up, it's like for everything that we tried, like every box we try to check, somebody's going to find that box that's not checked and ask the question, and I'm going to be like, oh, the box isn't checked. So one of the boxes that we tried to check with this, and these numbers are all just draft, if you want to opine on anything that I've put out on this, and I caught at least 2 typos, so please feel free to address those too. One of the things that we get a lot of questions on is, well, I've already paid my fee and it just started raining. I want to go over to the other place. Well, you can make an argument that space is at a premium inside the C5. There's only 3 courts. There's not 10 courts. There's air conditioning. You use a different kind of ball. It's a different kind of crowd. You can make a lot of arguments one way or another. But if I had 2 pickleball purists in this room, and one only played indoor and one only played outdoor, they could argue of why one is a better facility than another. And they would have a valid point, because people like different things. Some people, you won't catch me anywhere without air conditioning. My husband could care less if it was on or not. He's going to turn on the heat. So you have, those different types of play, those different types of environment. But there are some people that do go back and forth, that do have a little crossover. And for those people, they said, I've already paid it, Nancy Hansen. Us facilitating a refund takes an act of finance. So us just handing you the $3 back is way more complicated than it needs to be, but that's because we're a municipality. If the court fees, if a court is a court is a court, then yes, you're not playing here, it's raining, you can go over there if you want. You're not having to spend an extra $2 over there. I'm not having to facilitate a refund for $3 that involves 4 different people in the finance department. We're trying to check as many of the boxes as possible so that we can maximize the convenience for our residents, accommodate the city's rules and regulations as a municipal agency, not a Planet Fitness, not, what's the place called? Dildinkers?
Yeah.
It's a it's a privately owned indoor pickleball facility that I'm told charges a mint.
$400 a year membership, and then there's court fees on top of that.
Oh, wow, we're looking pretty good, aren't we?
Yeah.
But things like that are the things that we've changed. I've added, within this schedule, I've also added a general admission for the Cape Center for non-residents. $1, not asking a lot, likely to get it. And that can go up from there. I don't think we can go up from there at this point, but we can adjust that as we need to. We've adapted things for partner and non-partner league use of our courts. That's been a very sticky wicket, if I may use that phrase, because we have multiple leagues that utilize our courts. Some of them are organized by large-scale organizations such as like USTA. Some of them are locally organized, Space Coast Ladies Tennis and the
Florida Team Pickleball League.
Florida Team Pickleball League. And just like our non-partner and partner league use on our field, we have an MOU with our youth sports organizations. We had to. We never had one. I don't know why we never had one, but we needed to have one because we needed our expectations in place, like please do not give our keys away at Halloween for trick or treat. Like, we have to have expectations here. Not everybody can be on the field at once. We need to have a schedule. Don't call us and say, oh, the field's not mowed, when you didn't tell us what day you were going to be out there. So we established MOUs with those organizations so that we could, A, not only build things into the budget to help them and to support them, but they could also be involved in other things because they're bona fide 501c3s, and they have an agreement with the city, and they help us and we help them. So if you're a partner and you help us and we help you, then we have that MOU in place. If you're a non-partner, that fee's a little bit higher. And that fee that's put out there makes it even, because right now we have 3 different fees for 3 different types of activities on the courts, and I don't think that's quite right. Now,
I have a question on the fees, since we're talking about the general facility use fee schedule. That you put forth in our agenda packet. We already approved one of these in July, and it had different fees than you put out here, and I just wondered why that was changed from what we had approved.
the motion that was from the minutes, because I based the organization of this on what was in the minutes that were approved, said, give us the differential and make the numbers jive. It was not so much that you guys didn't actually vote
Yes,
on
we
the
did.
specific
I
numbers.
have it in my notes, of which one we had approved, and
It was the simplified
differential
differential.
structure A.
Mhm.
And so the pricing was different than what you have now. So I was just wondering why that pricing, because we did not approve the differential structure B. And there was lots of discussion, like half an hour on what to do, which fee schedule. And we finally agreed upon that one, but, which I thought, why are we rehashing this and not taking what we had all agreed on at that time?
Joel made the motion,
Yes, and I think I seconded it.
and it,
And
yeah.
And I have it written down here in the July attachments that, which one that we took. So that was why I was like, just wanted to know why the fees were changed, that's all, from what we had approved. The only thing I can see that possibly would be benefit would be, as you mentioned, to charge the same thing for court pass at Nancy Hansen and C5, just, so that, except that, you do have you're going to get rid of a monthly Nancy Hansen pass, and you'll have to buy the dual court pass if you want to buy monthly or annual. But otherwise, it was definitely a drop in the pricing in some and an increase in others. I was just curious what the motivation for that was.
After listening to the meeting again and then reviewing the minutes for it, my understanding was, and part of the discussion was, I can only come up with so many variations of $2,
I do
$3,
remember
$4,
that.
$5, and $6, and then you start getting into this is ridiculous. And what I understood from Joel's motion was, this is the structure that we want, come up with something that jives, and then we'll approve that at a later date when we did the combination, because when we submit this, we're submitting the whole shebang.
Oh, yeah.
It is everything. It is not just general facility use. It's going to address our leagues issues with our partner leagues and our non-partner leagues. It's got to address our facility rentals, and it also needs to address some of the stuff that we're not utilizing. And there's actually one more after speaking with Missy and going over the things that I was putting forth with this. She came up with even more ideas because we added something to rent a very small fee for Sandpiper Pavilion, because with rentals, that gives you exclusive use. That means if somebody wanders up and grabs a piece of pizza, you have absolutely every right to say, that's my pizza, I have rented this, you cannot be here. This is exclusive use. So we get asked to rent Veterans Memorial Park, which would be a gorgeous place to take pictures for a wedding. And it is designed for small-scale events. It's got a space for that. It's got power supply for that. I've suggested in this, because you also approved the Cape Center stuff, which those were taken verbatim, I believe, including the cleaning fee. And then I've added, see, Veterans Memorial Park. One of the other things that we could add to the community center is we could also rent out the activity room that we have. The I think the sign on the door says game room, but it's where we host our summer camp with the pool
On the
table.
bottom floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that's not on here, because the conference room you have, that's the upstairs conference room?
Yeah.
Correct, that's not on here, that's why I'm throwing it out there, because
Oh,
that was
the
an idea that
downstairs
Missy
activity
had,
room.
because she gets approached by that, about
Okay.
that, by
So that would
both
be a new one.
501s and regular residents. Sandpiper Pavilion, the event lawn, we get people that ask about the event lawn. And in my one-on-ones with a couple of the board members, one of the things came up is, can we charge the politicians for electioneering? I love that idea, especially since there's 5 or 6 of them at once, sometimes more. That'll be a question for the city attorney. But as far as the structure goes, that's what I'm really hoping to get through. And then in May, at our May meeting, I can fine tune the numbers that you see. We can get that as far as where we want it, and for a recommendation to council, I can get it on the council agenda for June or July, depending upon their load and how fast I can type. And we can have a new thing in place within a couple months before the new fiscal year. That was my hope. So if there's anything on this that you would like, any specific numbers you want to see changed,
Or if we have a question about something.
question,
Okay.
let me know.
What was that cleaning, on the Cape Center, the cleaning fee, the 50%, was that the 50%? What was that 50%?
Not to exceed 50%. That was one of the suggestions that
I
you
think
put
I
forward,
remember.
because it got a little weird when you have a $25 room and I'm charging you $150 for a
Yeah.
thing. So, not to exceed 50%. So if they get it for a couple hours,
Yeah.
it's a 50%.
But if they trash the entire place, then they have a $150 deposit that can be used to.
In addition.
Okay. The other thing I had a question about is, okay, so I did not realize that you had been asked for refunds for rainy days when people are playing in one location versus another location.
I could
So
ask for refunds for
would it
everything.
help that issue to have one fee just for courts, instead of separating the daily fees, okay, from the C5 and the Nancy Hansen having separate court passes? Could you just have a court pass that included, you could go to either facility for them?
That's kind of what's here, because the
That's-
Oh,
pricing
that's
is
on
the
the
same.
daily, the daily it isn't.
No, you're right.
The daily, they're both $3 and $5. It's just the minor price that's different.
But it's still a separate price.
It's the
So
best
I'm
way to
thinking
track
if they
it.
were all court passes.
Yeah,
then
you could just
wouldn't
combine
have
the
a-
two
Yeah,
into
if I just had one button that said court pass, I wouldn't know what building they're at.
She needs to keep track of.
I got to keep track of the
What's
revenue.
Okay, didn't know
Yeah.
what, didn't,
Yeah.
okay.
That has to do with tracking. Once upon a time, and I so wish I would have screenshot this before I eliminated it, because it looked like a McDonald's ordering POS machine. For every person that walked in the door, prior to us not keeping count of it anymore because the numbers were just so insanely different, there was a different button for resident, non-resident, senior resident, non-senior or
Senior
senior
non-resident.
non-resident, resident child, non-resident child, for every single sport that was offered.
Also military.
And then we added military.
Yeah.
And then we added
First responders.
first responder, and a lot of them were the same price, the exact same price. So until, and I think this gentleman finally got on the right page, but we actually had one annual member for shuffleboard. And we do not have any actual annual members for shuffleboard. He just hit the wrong button because all the prices were the same and everything was completely separated. And not only was there user error on the public-facing side, but I'm sure there was on the employee side too, because it literally looked like Burger King with all the different things. So once we had enough solid numbers to know that the pickleball was what was really bringing in the money over there, I believe the numbers were something along the lines of, it was under 10,000 for tennis and over 25,000 for pickleball. I think we can stop counting now. So once we consolidated that for the sake of our staff, and it made training incredibly hard, this simplifies it even further. But getting rid of, I mean, a court pass can be a court pass all day long, but we've got to at least keep track of what building you're at as far as posting those fees for that building and tracking it on our end to make sure that our revenues and our expenditures are.
Oh, what about for the monthly then, where you do only have a court pass dual on the monthly and annual? Is that a problem then? You wouldn't know.
That was based on the structural one that you guys voted for.
Right.
In order to get the discounts that are available to you for monthly and annual, you have to have the membership.
Right, but I'm just saying, if you just have a court pass, you're not going to know at which place you go, but you don't care at a monthly?
You'll still have to check in.
Yes, of course, but.
So I'll see you check in, and
then-
I'll see what facility you check in at. But as far as the daily, it's a lot easier to have it as
The revenue separate.
to separate buttons.
I had a question. How much of a problem is it a rainy day event when people can't play at Nancy Hansen and they want to go and play indoors? What?
Can you speak to that a little bit better? Because you actually see it from the courts.
Yeah, I've never seen it happen where if it rains, people go home. You know, I've never seen it happen. Usually, I've never seen it happen where they pay and they pay their $3 and they get out there and it rains, and then they want the refund to go over to play indoors. I know if some people will, a few people when it rains will go over to C5 and play over there. But the general consensus is it's going to be so crowded, it's not worth going over there for. So it's a very rare event that ever happens.
Or a big sign that says no refunds. You know,
Yeah.
Or
As the person that makes the signs, they never read them.
Yeah.
or you do a rainy day ticket or something like that. People, if they want to go to the other facility, they take their little rainy day ticket that they get from the front desk, and they pay an extra $1 to play
Plus,
indoors.
the fee is so small at $2 or $3. You know, if you get 1 or 2 games in and then it rains, you're not going to worry about getting those $2 back or something like that. That's been my experience. I've never seen anybody complain about it or have a problem with that.
So harsh.
So Molly,
Not responsible for weather.
Yeah.
getting back to kind of like the original points that we were getting into, the thing is, if we can do a motion about adopting the facility use costs here, the fee schedule and structure sample, it doesn't make any difference what the city council decides about whether they go with the insurer providers or not. But at least this gets a chance to be moving forward so that it can be implemented, recommended by the city council, so it can go into implementation.
Yes. And if you guys want to tweak the numbers, if you're good with the schedule, if there's things you want me to add to it, if there's things you want me to take away from it, let me know now. And then when I come back in May, and I can have something for you to actually vote on in terms of, let's recommend this to council.
Well, what I see, the main difference between what we had looked at last summer and what you propose now, is that there is a slight decrease in costs for residents, which is nice. And in a few of the categories, a slight increase in the non-residents. That's fine. So I think it's reasonable, and I would just make a motion to accept the fee schedule as it sits here with the current one that you proposed for this current agenda.
Can I ask one question before that? So for the C5 general facility use for a resident is $30. If
For the month.
for the month. So if the contracts, if we were still able to take Silver Sneakers, would a resident be able to use their Silver Sneakers and then pay extra to go on the court, the difference between 30 and 48?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they will utilize the upstairs workout room for free. And then if they wanted to use the courts, they would have to pay.
$18.
No, they'd have to pay the
No,
42.
they would
Why
have,
would they not want the gym and court?
because they're not paying anything for
example?
Silver Sneakers. So
Okay.
they would just
Well, that was my question.
yeah, they would just get the court pass.
Yeah.
One of the things with the contracts, in addition to the fact that they're non-negotiable, is the fact that I'm not allowed to charge. I have to give everybody with those cards what's available to our basic people without charging more.
Right.
One of the hopes that the attorney had was that, he's like, well, what if we just charge them the difference? And I'm like, we're not allowed to.
Can't.
We'd have to change what our definition of basic membership is, and that's what this allows us to do. It's, you know, putting the finger in the leak is essentially what we're trying to do with this. And creating what we, instead of just having a membership and creating that basic, is saying, all right, well, if you have Silver Sneakers, you have access to all of this, and for at least one of those companies, we get $30 a month if that person uses it 10 times. So it almost puts it into a better range. Now, whether we can get all the companies to pay that or not is probably not possible, at least not with the attitudes I've received in the emails. But this, all we can do is try to plug the leaks at this point and try to generate a little bit more revenue in the areas that we're not.
Question. I have a question, please. On the general facility use, a resident minor pays the same amount as a regular resident?
A resident minor never pays anything.
Oh,
Maybe it
Okay.
should just be noted as a line, a resident minor, and with zeros.
Just with a zero for clarity.
Yeah, just for clarification.
and where do the little kids get their little identification cards like?
Their parents have to register them or they're not permitted in.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, we have to know who you are and who to call if you get hurt.
okay. And minor is like mostly students or people under the age of 21 or
17
18.
and under.
17 and under? Okay.
18 is adult.
Okay. It just, to me, I mean, again, I'm new and I have a weird perspective, but it just reminds me of when you're trying to automate a process and you can only automate the rules, you can't automate all the exceptions. And so this seems like it covers everything. every single thing.
Trying to
And-
cover as much.
Yeah, and that gets real cumbersome to manage at the end of the day. No?
That is the
No.
definition of my job.
That's the definition of software.
Not
And
really.
software,
Yeah,
and
no.
because the one rule that we always have, and I talk about it weekly with my staff, is that one rule that you don't have in place, that one rule that you don't have posted on the sign, because I can't fit all of Chapter 54 on our park signage.
Somebody will ask.
I actually had a deputy at Patriots Park. We have several beautiful oak trees, and there was a gentleman that decided to use it for knife practice. Yes, in Chapter 54, it says no weapons at parks. But the deputy called me when we reported it. We ended up being able to identify the person that was doing it. They were caught. The gentleman was housing challenged, and the police were very familiar with him. And the first question they asked was, "Do you have a sign up that says that you can't throw knives at trees?" No.
Well, what about a disclaimer that anything not listed but included in Chapter 54 or whatever?
It is.
It
It
says
is.
that?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
that would be it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with a QR code. Yeah, but specifically, the sign did not mention not throwing knives at trees, but that was the question I got. So the point of that example, yeah, that was the look I had.
You have to also say, don't pee outside, you know.
Oh, yeah,
You know.
yeah, I've got some video for you.
Yeah.
The point of it is, for any rule that you don't put in writing, that's the one they're gonna find. That's the one that they're gonna break.
Not a blanket clause.
There is blanket clauses. You can't have weapons in parks, but you also can't have golf clubs in parks unless it's designed for golf, which is the putting green at Banana River. Meaning you can't go out to Manatee and start chipping balls into the river. Yeah, yeah, that's on the sign. Didn't get to the weapons part, but sometimes you think you would put the lesser known things that people would understand on the sign, because that's harder to enforce than don't take a weapon to a park. But that's why these fee schedules are comprehensive. That's why I've added stuff that we've never discussed before, because I get asked, and the one thing that I don't have a fee schedule for is the one thing I'm gonna get asked about. So,
Hopefully with such a cumbersome fee schedule, we'll make a little bit more revenue, because in order to get more revenue, we had to distribute it out so that there were many moving parts and pieces to it.
A couple of comments on the fee schedule, please. Can we look at, under facility rentals, other parks?
Let's just first deal with the general facility use one, because there's a motion that's been seconded on the floor.
Oh, sorry.
I was hoping that we could do it as one big thing.
Okay. The whole fee schedule is structured.
I see no value for a Manatee Park at $250 for a full day. I'm not sure where we are in the renovation of that pavilion. I see no value for $250 because I have rented that facility.
It's $225 today, so that's only a $25 increase.
Again, I see no value.
Are you renting it?
Yeah,
For Manatee Park, where's?
Yeah, on this
You don't have a rental fee, anybody can
Bottom.
show up and have a
Manatee
picnic and,
pavilion.
well, anybody
Push
can show
people
up and
off
have
the
a
table.
picnic, but you only have exclusive use of, rental gives you exclusive use.
Oh, MSP.
right,
Yeah.
that's the value.
And Banana River.
Honestly, it was not a value.
Because you could have just shown up and done your thing the way.
Nope.
He didn't.
The key doesn't work properly, minor thing, I guess that's fixed. But the interior was not the cleanliness in the way. And you're right, I probably could have just shown up. And what I did do, I took the sign that said this is exclusive, and I moved it to the
Boardwalk.
gazebo on the boardwalk, that end gazebo, and I blocked that off for my party because that pavilion was filthy. Sorry, guys. Okay? I got a very, very nice thank you card from the city for renting the park. That handwritten, it was really very, very nice. Thank you. But I don't believe that's until we upgrade that. I think that should go to $100 or $150. Same is true when you go to the Nancy Hansen Activity Room. You're charging $25 an hour. I think that's great. But for 4+ hours, $250, it's double the fee.
We're canceling classes.
Excuse me?
We may have to cancel classes at that point, so that could impact revenues. 1 or 2 hours, we can typically schedule around classes. If you're taking it up for the entire day and there's classes,
Okay, that makes sense.
there is a lot of Zumba happening there. And yoga, and,
Yeah, jazzercise.
yeah.
Yeah. You make
Uh-oh.
$2 per participant.
We make 25% of their take.
Yeah, so it's $5. What's 25% of $5? $2.25. $2 plus or minus. Okay. And I guess that's the same, well, the non-resident. That was the only thing that stuck out to me. And I don't know if renting a park for $200 for a wedding venue, and I know Veterans Park is a very nice facility. Is $200 fair? I don't know. Oh, I was thinking of $150. I think we should try and rent it and get volume to go through it.
There's no bathroom.
Do remember, there are no bathrooms. The library is not super keen on
Right.
stuff like that. If I came trooping in there with a wedding party of 50, I'm sure they'd have something to say, and I'd probably get a call over the weekend. But the other thing to consider is that unlike Manatee Sanctuary Park and Banana River Park, where our hands are tied on differential fee structures, we can rent those out to 501c3s, and then we are only getting $100 for the use of the park. So the general public for a wedding, and I don't know how many weddings you've paid for, but you throw the word wedding into something and the price triples.
I paid $26,000 for a wedding.
See?
How does it work if somebody rents Veterans Memorial Park, just so I have a
We
mental
would have to develop a policy for that one, because each of our parks have different needs, different things you can do there, different things that don't fly, whether it's because it's in a residential neighborhood, et cetera. Like if you are trying to host an event at Manatee Sanctuary, one of the things that we are very cognizant of is if you have music, because if you have those speakers pointed at those condos, my phone is going to ring. So is the deputies' phones, because even if it's within our noise ordinance, it doesn't matter, you're still disturbing people. So when people have events there, when people have activities, that is one of the questions we ask. And then we also gently remind them, please make sure your speakers are pointed the other direction towards the water, so you're not, because it literally
To the
bounces and
dolphins.
echoes.
Yeah, manatees and moose.
So we would have to come up with policies, and we would have to actually probably meet with the library so that we were all on the same page with things, on expectations and what renters would be and would not be able to do, because parking also is an issue there. The library gets very upset when people park there and don't go to the library. And we had that issue with the Veterans Memorial Parade one year, and we had that issue with the Space Coast Little League Parade one year.
Totally different issues for the facilities and we're trying to mix and come up with one universal. I think we should segregated.
They're all separate. There's
Oh, but we
policies.
were going to vote on everything at once, right?
No, that's just the numbers and the structure, not the rules.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the rules as far as what would be developed, because what you do at Veterans Memorial Park should also be a consideration as well, because you don't want something that's inappropriate.
Or certain places aren't available to rent out, only the ones with bathrooms, and then you keep them clean. Because you have a facility and you charge $250 and you're not bothering the neighbors, and you only have one or two of those,
Right.
But not try to turn all of them into,
Rentals.
yeah, without bathrooms, up against a condo. If somebody had a party and I lived in a condo and they were blasting music,
You
I
would be calling me.
very upset.
Well,
I
no,
wouldn't
no.
call you. It would just be upsetting, This is a nice, quiet little beach town. And that's just not a place to do a big rowdy concert.
So are you suggesting we don't rent out
No, I'm
veterans?
just thinking out loud. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be negative. It just seems like we're trying to
That's
accomplish
why
a
each
lot.
property, well, we are trying to accomplish a
Yeah,
lot,
at
because
one
we're
No,
leaving
Mary,
money
you're
on the
not
table.
being negative at all, but we also have to be realistic. We have certain bars in the city of Cape Canaveral that play loud music that you can hear 6 blocks away,
That ends at a certain time.
right? And in addition to that, we have this festival that runs 10 times a year also. Right. I would like to say this. Betsy, you made a motion. I think let's continue with this motion. I believe this is a very good tentative structure of a fee schedule. The one thing I'd like to add is I'd like the attorney to be able to figure out if we can charge the politicians when they set up on the C5 building lawn.
So that could be an addition.
On Election Day.
Well, that's okay, as long as they're within, 60 feet of the floor.
Yes, exactly.
But can we charge them?
But can we charge
the
them
question.
because they're on the
Oh,
lawn?
on the big lawn,
Yes,
Okay, I thought
yeah.
the
Why
Walk
would we
away
charge them?
side lawn.
Yeah.
Betsy, did you want the general facility use, did you want that to include, I thought you brought it up, the zero charge
The
for
minor,
a minor?
Yes.
For a resident?
Yes.
Okay.
just so that's clear.
If the motion is that we approve the general facility use with the addition of that, okay.
Just noting that, so that people would be aware, if they looked at the fee schedule, that a resident minor doesn't pay anything to use on a daily basis to use the
Courts.
C5 or Nancy Hansen or whatever. Now, it is noted here that if, just so you're aware, that if you have a child, resident child, and they want a monthly pass, then they do have to purchase that. There is a price to that.
Why would they buy it if they can come for free every day? What would it give
I
them?
think that's a copy-paste typo.
Is it?
Yep,
Okay, so that should
from
be
the
taken
above,
out?
from the line below.
Okay.
So take that one out.
Take the resident child
For
monthly.
annual, yeah, because that's
Okay.
Yeah.
that should be non-resident.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
good catch. I knew there was at least the 3 typos.
Yep.
It's like, wait a second, that,
And then would that include then the additional, the general facility use page, the facility rentals, and the
Yes.
2 pages of facility rentals? Is that the
Yes,
motion then?
Now we just say we approve the first reading today.
Yes.
Yes. That's a good one.
motion to approve the attachment 5.1 with the pricing
Fee schedule.
fee schedule
and the discussed amendments.
discussed today.
With the changes.
With the changes of
The resident child and the gym activity room on the facility rental page.
While we're on that,
There is a second.
There's a second.
I will second that.
okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Since we're actually voting on numbers in addition to structure, because we're talking about adding the activity room downstairs, is $25 plus the 10, same as the resident, non-resident rate at the Nancy Hansen fair for that?
Are we
25
losing revenue in the game room like we lose revenue
Not
in
necessarily.
Nancy Hansen?
Not necessarily.
Pickleball.
No, this is just
You're
to
not
rent
playing
it.
pickleball
No,
in the
but
game
I'm just
room.
saying. I
This
mean,
is
I-
just the activity room.
I understand. I'm saying like in answer to Brad, he's asking if we're losing revenue to the extent we do with pickleball. That's a no-brainer. We have to accommodate that.
I think
But
he was
the-
talking about when we have rentals that require us to cancel classes in the room at the Nancy Hansen.
Right?
I think that's what he's talking about.
Yes.
So it's not like the,
It's not like
Revenue
the game
gap
room
that
in
we have.
C5, because many times that's unused, other than when summer camp
right.
is involved.
And they just wouldn't be allowed to rent during,
Summer camp. or
Camp,
any
yeah.
camp.
'Cause
So we
it's-
are losing revenue on
No,
that?
we're
No,
just
we're-
not
No,
doing
we're just leaving
right
it on
now.
the table.
We're not even renting
Oh, I
it.
see. Okay, okay.
And what do you suggest that fee is, $25 an hour?
the same as the Nancy Hansen activity room,
Sure.
Sounds good.
25 and 35 respectfully, with the full day cleaning fee and the refundable deposits.
Can we put both
$12.50.
of those limited to 4 hours?
I mean, we could.
So, 250, yeah, I don't know.
If they wanted it for the whole day,
What birthday party's gonna last 8 hours?
well, but then they wouldn't.
But then
rent
they
it for
go to
that.
this, they go to the splash pad.
They would just go for 4 hours, then
Yeah.
that's what they want.
Yeah, $25 an hour.
Oh, an hour.
How do the rest of you guys feel about that?
Fair.
Are we in consensus? The game room in the C5 building, $25 an hour, same as Nancy Hansen?
Yep.
Okay.
And that'll let us buy the rugs to soak up the water. All right, so I've got that Nancy Hansen and game room, C5 game room, as part of the suggested amendments to that. So I believe the motion was to approve, did you say approve with amendments? Or approve with discussed? Approve with discussed amendments.
Betsy, approved with amendments or approved
Then
with?
the only changes I have written down was that on the general facility use, resident child is noted as a 0, just for clarification. Child is removed from the monthly and the annual for the resident. And then on the facility rentals, the activity room at the C5 is $25, $35 for non-residents. And that's the change to the motion that I put forward to accept, otherwise the rest of the fees.
And Ginny, you second that?
Second that.
Quick question, in the game room, is food allowed in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Gotta love polished concrete floors.
You gonna pull one?
Are we ready to vote? Yep. Perfect. Okay. Mary Mascara,
4.
Brad Purvell,
4.
James Stobie,
4.
Betsy Ronk,
4.
Jenny Scott,
4.
Mary Lou Stant,
4.
Joyce Downing.
4.
All right, so with that, I will try to get this on the April agenda. Same caveat as with this one might be a heavy lift for April. It'll be on council's agenda no later than May. So regardless of the outcome on the insurance topic, we'll at least have something in place ready to go for the upcoming fiscal year to try to generate some more revenue for us.
And when you, and I would just make sure that council is aware that this change of splitting the court from the gym is irregardless of what they decide on insurance.
Correct.
So they're aware that, we propose to do that even if no change is made to the use of insurance.
Well, and honestly, I think it'll make it, for the people that only use one or the other, it'll make it a more affordable option for them and also help us cover additional bases that aren't being covered. So I'm hoping they'll see the same value in it that this board does as well.
It's a lot of work, Molly. You did
You're
good.
telling me. You should see my tabs on my spreadsheets. It's almost unreasonable. Are you ready for staff updates?
Yes.
All right. I will keep this short and sweet. It is, still kind of a new year. We do have some new members. The clerk's office has been exceptionally busy with workshops, and it is budget season. If you weren't already aware, I think I owe you a copy of the calendar, so we'll make sure you have that at the January meeting. If you didn't get it already, I provided the board with a calendar of all of the council meeting dates to include budget, CRA meetings, all of that other stuff, because as residents and board members, you are always welcome to come and speak to them and share your ideas, and that is the appropriate place to talk to them if you have things that they're going to vote on. And if you are new and you haven't had the opportunity to sit down with the clerk, stand by for a communication, because they will be getting with you to go over the code of conduct, and they will also provide a copy of that sunshine law quick sheet that I've provided everybody. I try to remind everybody of that every year, because the way our structure works here with term limits, et cetera, every year is an election year for this foreseeable future. So we're always going to have new people. With the board itself, we always have new people, so it's always a good reminder for everybody to be on the same page with the sunshine law, because you can violate sunshine law by somebody else's actions. So that way you're empowered to be able to say, I can't talk about that because of sunshine, but we can convene at a more appropriate place. Because a lot of people come onto boards, and even elected officials, every elected official has that first time that they're elected to a board or an elected position. So there's always a learning curve, and I mean, you saw what we discussed today. There's a lot to know. And this is, every topic on every agenda is the tip of a much bigger iceberg. So I just wanted you guys to be empowered with the knowledge on what is expected in terms of state law regarding the sunshine law. Next up, Nancy Hansen Recreation Center. We've gotten our draft design from the engineers. Given our budget and the way the building is constructed, there's not a whole lot we can do, but we can move some stuff around. We had a survey out to facility users, our regular facility users, and we got some decent feedback. And a lot of that was able to be incorporated. My goal was not to reduce the size of our activity room, because one of the things that was provided in the feedback is we actually need more room. So one of the design features that we have is keeping the size of that room, but providing for a lot more storage, so we don't have things sitting in the corner, so that room will have more space for some more people, more participants, and people to spread out a little bit, because I don't like Zumba injury reports and incident reports from people getting hit in the face when people get too close and crowded and start having too much fun. So We're in the draft phases of that. We're waiting. They sent it to us for some comments. We had some minor comments, but it will allow us to get a lot more out of that space, and will also help us be in compliance with ADA, because that building is the antithesis of ADA. It was built like right before ADA, and you can tell.
Excuse me, at one point in the past, when we discussed Nancy Hansen and improvements there, and I don't know if this is being looked at by whomever is looking at the inside of the building, was doing something on the outside of the building and the traffic flow such that people have to go through the office to get to the courts to be used?
That's one of the things that we've talked about, because one of the ADA issues, one of the ADA issues is the entry points. So if there's money available, I have discussed with the city manager some of our challenges with that, and we can add to the fencing to steer people in a better direction, but there's no specific designs within the interior except that address that specifically. But one of the things that we have designed is, when you walk into the building now, the service window is only on the inside. You have to physically walk into the building to get to it, and it's on the side that's the least used side of the facility, the complex as a whole. So one of the things that I had asked for in the design is to switch the sides and move the main office that's staffed to the east side of the building, and have an exterior window, so you don't even have to come in, but you do have to. You do have to walk by that window to get to the courts, unless you want to be an acrobat.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah.
So that helps, and that also helps us secure our get our waivers signed, because that's a challenge. In addition to the fact that, husbands will send the wives in, wives will send the husbands in. We need both. We need to put eyes on both people that are playing in those instances, because we need to make sure that you've checked that box saying that you realize that you're taking a risk in playing something and you're in a public space, so on and so forth. So making sure that staff has eyes on people and has the ability to see, because if you haven't noticed, both myself and Marcy are vertically challenged, and getting to see over the bushes and getting to see out of those windows, because they are high, makes it challenging sometimes, and you physically have to get out on the court. So we've got some help in that, and hopefully we can get it a little bit tighter once we have.
Get your drone.
No.
Get your drone.
Yeah, just send out drones. Start dropping sandbags if we see a problem. The next and final update that I have for you is this lovely letter from our folks at Playmore. And I will summarize it quickly once I hand this out.
Thank you.
And Samantha, I'll give you one so you can add it to the record.
I'm afraid to read this.
Oh. I thought it was very nice of them to write this letter. Because I was tired of explaining it. Since you're here. So, in quick timeline recap, we were told in December, January timeframe that we would be accepting delivery of our new equipment. And I told the vendor that I would not be ripping anything out until we received the equipment. They had checked it to make sure that everything had arrived, all of their bits and pieces, their bolts and parts were available to be installed. And our hope was to have this installed by the end of February. That was the goal. When the equipment was received, they checked everything in. They had everything that they said they needed, and we removed the equipment. We took the benches out. We are refurbishing the benches that have been taken out. Those will be installed, repainted, and installed over at Banana River Park, where we are distinctly lacking in benches, especially for those that want to come out and watch games for the soccer field, and those that want to sit out and overlook the river. The mangroves at this point are small enough that you can still do that. So we wanted to offer that for people that wanted to experience that park without the need to buy a separate set of benches, because we were already going to replace the ones there. So we had everything in place. We removed everything that we needed to remove. And when the installers came and got started, they realized that their boss had made a measuring error. And then that's when they asked us if we wanted to remove trees. And the answer to that was no. They needed to go back to the drawing board. They needed to figure out, we knew that all of this stuff would fit within the space, and that's where we're at now. I received an email from the installer this morning saying that the redesign that they had to do on their end is complete, and he'll be getting back to us by the end of the week with a date that they will resume installation. Right now they have one structure in. I think they're going to have to adjust the angle of that. Cost is on them. Everything at this point is on them. And I'm hesitant to give an actual date because now I don't trust their measurements until I see everything installed. So we're hoping to get that taken care of. We will be saving some money. So that's a good thing because we won't need as much of the pour-in-place material that goes under the main structure. And that's probably one of the more expensive items that is going to be featured there. So the good side is we save money. The bad side is it's taking longer than we anticipated, but it's not on staff at this point because they acknowledge that they made a pretty large measuring error. So,
is there any accommodation in the contract for delays that were caused by the vendor?
I think I'm going to have to look at the way this one is written because this isn't the standard construction agreement that we do with like road projects and pipes.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were incentivized to do it quickly or if penalized if they delayed.
Yeah,
That's usually how it goes.
For larger projects, we do that. For playground installations, we've never done that in the past. Yeah, we can look at the agreement, but yeah, it's not the same Anthony agreement that's used for large scale projects.
You know, sometimes they give you a discounted percentage if it's delayed, or you get extra equipment if it's delayed, or your warranty is extended if it's delayed.
We can discuss
Just
to incentivize.
yeah.
Yeah, we can talk to them about it. They feel really, really bad because I've emphasized the fact that not only did they do this to our kids that already have kind of a rough year with the closure of their school, but they also extended the ideal completion date by over a month, and now spring break is almost over, so the kids didn't have that for spring break. And I drove that home in every single email. I was sure for that. So,
Can I ask, were you finished with that? When you said that, I just thought about what happened at C5 that caused it to close for 2 days. I wasn't aware of.
they had to make upgrades to the electrical panel.
It said it was urgent, or it was not anticipated, so that's what I wondered. What
It
happened.
was anticipated because we knew we needed to make these upgrades for the long-term operation of the splash pad.
Oh,
It needed more power. And so they were making installation changes inside the C5, which is where most of the splash pad power comes from. And then there's also another panel box within the splash pad pump house as well that had some components added to it. But it was anticipated and it was planned. We had just been waiting. The lead time on the parts was, I think Keith got to the city in September or October. And That was one of the first meetings we had with the electricians, and the lead time on the parts we needed was more than 2.5, 3 months. So it took forever to get the breakers that we needed. Any other questions? Anything else? I have no other updates for you.
Any other comments from any board members?
Is Amy still available to come on up?
Thank you, Molly. You've had a long evening.
Yes.
Explaining a lot of things to us and going through a lot.
So we've been working on, at the request of you guys, a few things. One of them is marketing, and I have been working on UTM in Google Analytics. That's Urgent Traffic Modules. And basically I can add that to any QR code that I want. And anytime someone scans this QR code, I can find out information, like where they saw the QR code, where it was when they scanned it, what are, basically what maybe it looks like, right? What I'm advertising. And I think that our point is that we can now figure out what marketing campaigns are having an effect and where our marketing is specifically targeted, right? Where do I get the most clicks to things? Whereas before, we were just throwing dirt at the wall and hoping something sticks.
It's prettier
This
than
will
dirt.
help us to determine. And I've started some already. Here's my list of QR codes. I started with the Apollo to Artemis,
Yeah.
right, program to see what happens there. I can put them out in a few places. We've done it with summer camp. I've done it with the egg hunt. And the secret is that they always have to go back to our website because that's what's connected to Google. And I can send them to the information about these programs directly to our website. So it does a couple of things for us. It drives traffic to our website, makes the people understand that our website is chock full of wonderful information, but it also helps us know who's looking at what where.
So Amy, how much does a click cost?
Cost me nothing.
Really?
That's the beauty of this, knowing where this is coming from. I can spend my time putting out information, right, in advertisements, as opposed to using Facebook, right, to do an ad, which costs, right, or putting it out in our Canaveral Explorer or other things, which also cost. So it's just another mechanism for us to understand who is looking at what where and what our community is most interested in. And it will help us later facilitate, driving, pricing, and that sort of thing. So, and this is what you get in Google, and I'll pass it down. It's kind of hard to see. This was the from the egg hunt. If you get the weekly update, you'll notice that it was there. If you clicked on it, Google captured it, so a couple of people did. And it takes about 48 hours after I put out a click for it to start showing up in analytics. But I can run reports and know flyers work better than,
So, question. Question. On the Apollo to Artemis program, how many clicks did we get? Do you know yet?
I do. I only have it in two places, one at C5
Yes.
and one at the Hilton up here in Canaveral.
Right.
I got one click from the C5 and two from the Hilton. So I changed my tactic. So if you just saw this, I'm hoping that you will be curious and scan the QR code.
Why only in those two locations when we have 3, 4 hotels?
Because I know someone up there who let me do it.
Uh-huh.
And I was just trying to figure out how UTMs work. It's not something that I had.
It was a
used
beta.
previously,
Mhm, it was
right? I
beta.
just, figured out that it could be done and got very excited.
Ran up there with the
So
poster.
I just put it in 2 places to see how it worked. Now that I know that it can work and it can capture important marketing data for us, I have been very busy creating things for different things and looking to put them other places. I'm hoping Dimitri at the Moon Hut will let me put some flyers there. I'm hoping Publix will let me put flyers there. I'm hoping that some of my connections at the port will allow me to do the same. And then we can see who is looking at our stuff the most and where we're driving traffic from.
Amy, question. Our economic and business development team isn't that, even though most of the people are not residents of Cape Canaveral, but their businesses are in Cape Canaveral, can you task whoever's in charge of that team to help us out to put out more of these flyers in those local businesses?
I have a list of all the local businesses.
Okay.
Because I work with them. But really, I'm just trying to do it small scale at first. I think it's better that way instead of just, again, throwing a bunch of dirt at the wall. I'm trying to be very strategic and structured in how it's done so that our results are a little clearer, right? I'm not trying to figure out 500 things. I'm just focusing on a few small.
Amy, I think that's a great program because, first of all, it's virtually free other than your time, okay? Right. And let me expand on that. I've started with my organization, not this, my real world. We are doing targeted marketing in every zip code that I have product in a Costco. And in the Southeast, there are 77 Costcos, okay? And we did this targeted marketing on Facebook, Instagram, X, Pinterest. The least amount we got feedback or clicks was X. So we killed that and we went to TikTok. But my point is, it starts at 25 cents a click, okay? And so clicks add up quite quickly. This campaign for 1 week cost me like $2,000, okay? However, the upside, organically, my sales grew by 20%.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out where the interest is and who our audience is and what they're looking for. Right?
I think you got a great thing going there, Amy.
Well, we'll see. But, Google Analytics is very robust. And the more I learn about it, the more we're like, I go to one and go, guess what we can do? She's tired of me coming in her office with like that, but
No, I never get tired of
yeah,
that.
we're getting there.
And can I, I'm looking at, I just pulled up a couple things that I
That's
had
mine.
screenshot at different times.
Okay.
Like this one was from Instagram from the city of Cape Canaveral, where you guys posted about having the Veterans Park Rain Garden volunteer planting, Cape Center grand opening, and the annual egg hunt in Canaveral Park. Did you have to pay for that to put it on Instagram?
No.
No,
Posts
okay.
do not cost. Advertising costs. Advertising on Facebook and Instagram is very targeted. So on Facebook, I can actually define an area of people who will see my ad, right? If we run an ad.
By
for,
zip
like,
code.
The Cape Center, right?
Or age groups.
So it'd be less expensive then?
Yes, this is just free. It only
Free.
costs my creative brain.
Right,
And a piece of paper. Right, and I just make the QR code and I add the information, like my campaign name, a medium, a source, I can do a campaign idea, and I just send it back to specific locations within our website. And that's how I get it to show up on Google Analytics.
But it's hard for me to distinguish what's an ad and what's a posting, you know,
Right.
because these are events that are being,
Yes.
you know, you're telling the public about
Yeah.
them.
An ad is kind of a post, but it's a post that, or a video that we pay for added reach. So it's shown to people who aren't necessarily followers of our pages, right? So it's shown outside of those 27,000 Facebook followers that we have, or the 4,300 Instagram followers that we have. It's shown to some of them, yes, but it's also targeted to others who might be interested in the program but don't follow us, so they wouldn't get the info. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of as an individual user on some of these, you can set your privacy settings so that if you post something, it's a limited group versus if you don't have any holds on it or restrictions, then it gets broadcast to everybody.
Yeah,
So
basically everything that we post on social media is an ad for us, right? It's information for us, not only for our residents, but for people who follow us in Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach, Orlando, all over. And it's kind of an ad for the city, for the things that we do, for the events that we have, for information like, oh, there's night work, right? Everybody
Yeah.
sees it,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily a paid ad. We're
So,
just
but
kind of-
you don't pay for those things
I do
if you,
not pay
if
for
you don't
those.
limit, if you have an unlimited audience?
Mhm.
Because I know some of the winter residents I've heard from, they go, oh, yeah, I saw that. you
Yeah,
know,
because they
go,
probably follow our page. So if you follow our page, you're gonna see everything that we post, and we post at least once a day, 5 days a week. Weekends if the weather's bad, we'll let you know, but at least once a day, right? Because that puts us at the top of your feed on Facebook or Instagram, so that if I post something else during the day that maybe is an important update or an event or program that I want to make you aware of, it'll show up more readily for you because I'm already kind of preloaded.
And we do occasionally boost posts for $10 or $15, because that usually, with how small we are, if we boosted something and of course Meta's like, oh, well, you're only going to get 500 people. Well, if 500 people show up, we're in trouble. So Facebook's actually an affordable marketing platform for some of the stuff that we want to generate more revenue for, and $10 or $15 goes a long way for a small organization.
Reindeer Run we boost.
Reindeer Run we boost, summer camp we boost, Apollo to Artemis we boost, different exhibits, different activities. Anything that we're really trying to make sure shows up in people's feeds outside of the ones that follow us, and $10 to $15 can go a really long way for
This is just
our small things.
in that box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amy, great job. I mean, to get that for free.
I didn't, you know, I
I'm
don't
going to get my marketing gal to give you a call.
stumbled upon it accidentally and went, ooh, that's cool.
Quick question, Molly. How's the poet laureate doing?
He's getting his thoughts together for April, which is National Poetry Month. We've got his press release ready, and that'll be going out. If it didn't go out yesterday, it'll go out today. No, wait, I think it went out Tuesday. Sorry, it's been a very busy week. So we're looking forward to seeing what his plan is for getting involved in that. And then the other thing, we're trying to give the folks at Roosevelt, we're letting them know that we're here. We're letting them know that we do have a long history of doing different activities and whatnot with our local kids. And we don't want to bombard them because it's big changes coming for them. I mean, we got one group moving out and another group getting ready for people to move in. And we were made aware last week that Cape View, and this was one of the best things that I've heard out of this whole situation. Cape View principal and the Roosevelt principal got together and they facilitated a field trip for the kids so they could come and see their new school, which I think is
That's great.
Yeah.
hugely important. I moved a couple times as a kid, and that was always rough. And what I thought was interesting, and once Missy was telling me that, because she's been in communication with the principal there for, summer camp upcoming and some of our other activities, is when I was in 8th grade, I didn't get a tour of the high school. They just throw us into the wolves. So I think that was a wonderful opportunity. And now that the principal is aware that there's a whole second community that's standing behind her to help support students, we're not overwhelming her just yet, because we're like, ooh, you want to come for Arbor Day? You want to come for this? You want to come for that? She's like, give us a minute. So we're slowly working with them to show them what we have to offer that will not only enrich our kids, but now actually we're once again reaching beyond our borders. So I'm hoping to get Luke involved with those kids as well and get him over to the high school, because since he's going to be in the neighborhood, because now our school's all the way over there, it might be a little bit easier to get him engaged with the older kids too, because those are our kids too.
You spend I can imagine kids spend the whole summer anguishing about what's it like, what's it gonna be like, and
New
then
people.
you show them, boom.
Yeah,
Thank you for thinking of that.
yeah.
Well, you see the importance of the PRCA department in Cape Canaveral now. Many tentacles out there in the community.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board? I make a motion that we close the meeting.
Oh, I'll second that.
Such a good